So Richard, we're kind of at the, is there anything, we got 5 minutes left, so let me just kind of ask you in terms of seasonally, the year. Tell me sort of, just iterate if you can, what Francisco's year is going to look like with respect to this garden.
Well, I think there's things that we're going to need to do quarterly, and there's things that are, how often do you come here to?
Once a week.
If you come once a week, so I think that's predominantly, you're doing weeding, you're checking the irrigation, you're doing any deadheading, things like that. There's going to be, there's probably, in terms of thinking of quarters, where you say, okay, well, in the springtime when everything's blooming, you may need to have a lot more work time spent going in doing the pruning of the lavenders, other things like that that are going to need the pruning. Then the summertime is really, I mean, you do your weekly stuff, and there may be once in the middle of the summer where you say, okay, we got to go through and double check everything for the irrigation, where you really probe down with a soil marker and dig down and see how far down the water is getting, so you can adjust the irrigation. And then there's the fall quarter, just kind of, again, that might be a secondary pruning for some plants, and you know, and then there's checking for gophers, checking for there might be fertilizer. If you add fertilizer, that's probably going to be more in the spring, and
Early in spring, right?
Early in the spring, before all the new growth comes. Usually wait until the new growth is just starting to come in, and then you can add the fertilizer. If you're adding kind of organic fertilizers like blood meal and things, those usually go in the fall, so they can kind of you know, decompose into the soil and do that. The lawn is going to, you know, you're going to need to do probably some treatment for the lawn for, you know, a weed. There's a lawn feeder with, you know, weed suppressant type of things. That's usually also in the spring once a year, and then maybe in the fall too.
Twice a year, right?
Yeah, this lawn doesn't. It's not super tall growing, and it's fairly drought tolerant. So at the beginning, when it was being overwatered, just to get the roots established, you can see little mushrooms coming up. Those seem to be all gone now, so it seems like it's on a good regimen of irrigation. But again, part of the trick is adjusting the irrigation with the seasons, so you know, so that we're not overwatering or underwatering. But keep in mind, most of these plants are fairly drought tolerant. So it's probably easier to have too much damage from too much water than from too little water once the plants are established. But I think they're on their way to getting established. After this winter, I think most of them will be doing really well. And then we'll, any questions, Francisco?
So here, this guy just mowed the lawn upstairs. What does he need to do now immediately before mowing this lawn? He just mowed that lawn with this lawnmower. What should he be doing next?
Well, what did we talk about? Did you have
They clean
this off?
Yeah.
Because you had someone else in there. We're going to clean those blades off. I use that.
Has that happened?
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Technically, it should be cleaned with like a Clorox there to prevent any of the diseases from spreading, things like that.
Okay.
Okay. If you have a spray bottle with Clorox, that's probably the easiest thing.
Why don't you go check with that before he mows right now, Margaret? Yeah. Excuse me, just a second. Could you wait for a moment?
Francisco, can you tell him?
Yeah.
They clean, I saw.
Oh, you did? Okay, fine. All right.
Okay.
So any last words, Richard?
I think enjoy, like Margaret, you've been doing, is just checking out different aspects of the garden. There should be little things in every part of the garden that are interesting to look at different parts of the year, whether it's some fruiting blueberries, the spring flowers, the fall color, this and that. So, and it's going to evolve in time too. You'll see how things come through. And
this olive tree, any comments about it? Do we have to do anything soon, later? What?
Well, I think the way it's pruned back now works out pretty well. I think I would wait until I would see some of the other things growing up on the fence here before you did anything else. I like the feeling of the branches hanging over there. It kind of creates a really interesting space. So I'd be hesitant to take anything more off of there, but the olives are fairly slow growing, so nothing that you have to worry about too soon. It's the gophers and the weeds, the oxalis, that we need to stay on top of, because that's protecting your investment. And like I said, if anything comes up, just call me.
Give you a call. Okay, terrific.
I'm happy to.
All right, well, we've got 1 minute remaining. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure.